Now, they are talking about a review of the law. The Honorable Minister called it suspension. I don't know where he got his own diction as it applies to law, suspension of a law. Now, you're talking about the law, that the law is not good enough. From Mr. Baba Osman, they need a review. What sections of the law should be reviewed? Now,
Barrister, please conclude your point.
That's okay. If you're talking about the law, which I do have here, what section of the law needs a review? What will be a better position other than the position stated in the law?
Yes.
Now, the objectives of this law are clearly stated in Section 3 of the law. They are stated. And
Barrister Agabkor,
yes.
I know in Mr. Usman's statement, he alluded to what he felt was problematic within the law.
Yes.
He alluded to this point in which you say that, look, you're prohibiting the herdsmen from essentially herding within the state, but then you said you're going to establish ranches, but then there is not a sufficient establishment of ranches before the prohibition, but the prohibition before the establishment of ranches. Now, does that enable the kinds of conditions that would allow for peaceful cooperation between the herdsmen and the communities in Benue?
And now, you see, what he's talking about is an implementation of the law before the enactment thereof. That the law should be implemented before it will be enacted. If ranches are to be established before the law will be enacted or the law will be implemented, what are we using? What is the facility? What is the tool being used for establishment of ranches? It is the law that says, do not carry out open grazing, establish ranches. And so that is what the law is all about. The law is saying, in the wake of open grazing, there are crises, there are killings, but if you stop open grazing and you now establish ranches, there won't be killings any longer. There will be peace. And that is why the law has stated succinctly the procedure for establishment of ranches.
But does it not clearly bar herders from purchasing land on a perpetual, permanent basis?
Not at all. Not at all. You see, the provisions of the law are here and very clear. The procedure. Now listen.
Barrister, we have an understanding that there's a time frame under which herders can rent or lease land, but in terms of permanent purchase of land, that is not within the framework of the law. Is that not the truth?
You see, purchase of land is regulated by agreement between the owner of land and the person that wants to buy land.
But the herder cannot be the owner of the land. Is that the case?
No. What we're saying is this. Nothing, not even this law, stops Mr. Baba Osman from approaching me to buy my land. It could be for any other purpose, not necessarily ranching. He can buy my land. He can purchase my land. So it mustn't be for the purposes of ranching. But we are saying that for purposes of ranching, it is better that land be leased, and that is to be regulated by the law.
Mr. Usman, I know you want to respond. Please go ahead.
Well, you see, the drafters' intention may be for these two, the ranching and the prohibition, maybe taking place at the same time, or ranching coming first before prohibition. And if you look at the condition laid down for one to have a ranch in Benue, if you look at that section, one accepts that it is totally impossible for the pastoralists to acquire land in Benue. So we feel the law is made in a way to totally alienate the pastoralists from Benue State. That was our fear. I say so. That was our fear. We feel when the law is implemented, our members will be chased out of Benue. And this is what is happening now. Our members are being chased out of Benue State because there's no provision for ranching. No arrangement was made for them to acquire ranches, and even the condition laid down in the law is too harsh for them to acquire ranch, even if they want to acquire one. So you see, these are some of the gray areas of the law. And Benue is not an island in Nigeria, it's a state, it's part of Nigeria. We have these international transhumance routes that traverse through Benue, which is covered by the ECOWAS protocol. It's a route that emanates maybe from Mali down to Central Africa. It passes through Benue State, and it's covered by the Accords Treaty. So if a transhuman pastoralist is passing, if he comes to Benue, what do you expect him to do? To carry his cows on his head and pass? So these are, we have made a lot of observations, we have cited a lot of gray areas. So we requested the government to have a look at those gray areas before the implementation. We were invited on the eve of the implementation of the law by the governor. So we told him our observations. We told him these are the observations, these are the things that must be done. Well, he said his hands are tied, he's under pressure. That was what he said then. He's under pressure, he has to implement. That was the statement of the governor. And he said the law will have a human pace, it will be a win-win situation. Here we are today, nobody is winning out of this law. The pastoralists are not winning, and the farmers too are not winning. Today, most of the farmers are living in IDP camps. Even the government is not winning. How much is the government losing as a result of the crime? Even the security apparatus is not winning.
We're getting ready to close this segment. Let me ask you very quickly. Would it have been a wiser course of action for the Minister of Defense to have, even if this was the position of the Security Council under the watch of the President, to have advanced this goal covertly, to have gone, for example, to the Benue State government and done this covertly as opposed to putting it in the public eye that there needs to be this suspension? Could that have made a difference?
Well, I think so. I think so. But I don't know why he chose to make it public. I don't know why. I don't know why he chose to make it public, honestly.
That's going to be a question.
It's ridiculous. You see, a person in that position...
30 seconds, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I was saying that the person in that position is expected to know what ought to be done. And now, for him to call for a suspension of the law without following due process for amendment or repeal of the law is ridiculous. It means it's ignorance. You know? We expect that you want the law to be repealed. Follow due process.
But should the Benue State government be open to restructuring the law as it is today?
Very good.
Why not? Every law is subject to amendment and repeal.
I think
now, if the
that's a fine place. That's a fine place to leave it. Unfortunately, because we've run out of time, gentlemen, I thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Standing by with us have been two gentlemen, Mr. Baba Usman Engelzerma, the Secretary General of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, MACBAN, and Barrister Emmanuel Agabkor, the Chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association branch in Makurdi. On that note, we will close this segment and take a short break. Our viewers, please do stay with us.